So we can pass on to the Columba process in the Lord. So the people was on the side, you can buy boxes getting a movie. See that you go over the people. Ukupaka ngizula kopto no besonda. Esimashela itashayini njini. Sizakasa ke Mesiya ke nangeli ixesha. Nakubona ke lefanelekile ngalomzuzu. Kwankosi asiphakele indaba ezifaneleyo. Nabazi yasifundisa, nabazi yasiluleka. Nabazi yacebisa siyabulela Nkosi bayevumile. Wawuse umsebenzisa ngawanga kethiko wethu. Xa iphela inkqubo yakhe bawulungile ezabethetha. Singashiyeka sisilelekile kakubi naye bawulungiselele endaweni ekhaya lakhe. Sibe ngokodwa kuze konke kwakuthunyiweyo ngexesha abenokuphakaza kuthi. Sikwenza usibinele ngexesha wasicela ngabalihlisa Yesu Kristu sethu. Amen.
Ndiyabulisa ibandla ngale emva kwemini ngegameni leSithu Yesu Kristu Nkosi yethu. Amen. Yimini mosiyomama ayonkonzo yomama le yimini nje uba umama are leading in the your worshiping today, but yimini yomntu wonke. Namhlanje ke kule afternoon omama babone into bangaba masike sijongane nomcimbi we-mental health ngoba uxinzelelo abantu abaphantsi kwalo lungapha amandla ngakumbi emva kwe-COVID. Zininzi ii-challenges abantu abadibene nazo. Apha emva kwam ndihamba nezithethi zethu. Ndimele nje ukuchaza into yoba kuza kwenzeka ntoni na. So lokho kweyam interview i-level yayo iphantsi kule yam. Sicele abantu ababini ngoba uba siyayibona inkqubo yanamhlanje nje ixesha elininzi abantu bathetha befuna ukubonisa into bangaba xa sisithi uhambe ngagohlobo. So bathe omama bekomiti ye-Women's Ministries bacela isihlokwana se-mental health sithi ningathi siqhubekanga siqhubekile, is there sanity? So sithetha ke phantsi kwezongoma. Kuthiwa mos ubomi is a learning opportunity for us, because the minute sisiza ukuphila akusekho nto sinoyifuna. So sifunda ngexesha silapha ebomini siqhubekeka nobomi. IBhayibhile ibanosincedisa ngamabali aseBhayibhileni ukwenzela into bangaba xa singaxeleka kwezinto okanye sibhideka simane ukuyotshekisha ngamabali siyawabalisoyo. Siyazi into bangaba ezinye zezinto ezisihlelayo zizinto ezeke zehla. Utsho uSuphumkani uSolomon uthi akho nto intsha emhlabeni. Siphinde siyazi into bangaba you as a person alone can only do so much. It's always through collaboration apho kubakho i-value ezulwini, because other people bring thoughts ongakhange wena uzivele. Ndizawuintroduce ke i-speakers zami. Apha e-right yam immediately uPam igama lakhe ngowabathwala ngoMrs. Thwala, so bamthwala. Ndizawubona xa iphakamile ndizawuphelela apho yonke into ebifuna uyiva ndizayiva ngayo. Ngapha kwakhe sine-shepherdess. Athi uSmall ke usisiNomonde endingiyinto. Naye ke uzawuphatha kulo mcimbi we-mental health atsho naye athelele ngawakhe amava ngaphandle kwezi zincwadi azasixelela zona zikhona ngesikulo ezincwadi. Umntu is very unique. UThixo umdale umntu waye-unique. Incwadi ihamba iphele samwe sifunde kakhulu ngamava omntu sidibanise ke ngoku ne-information eyayipha encwadini. So uzasenzela loo nto leyo sisiNomonde. Umcoco ulahlekile. Oh, because ndifuna asiphakamise nje uphandle hayi ukhona umdala apha xa bendithanda ujonga uzawuthini ayikho lula kaloku leyo umdala bethu. Sithi nje ingoma aphakame uPam ndizawucela senze ngolu hlobo ke uPam uzawuthetha agqibe noba silutshiseka kangakanani na yibhale phantsi uyigcine ne. Siphinde sicele uSiNomonde athethe uma kudinga into agqibe then ke ngoku we can go to town. Nge-statements, nge-question, nge-comments ne. Ndize nento bangaba sithobe ipressure yabo. Ayazi ukuthi uba xa esemile ugqiba kwakho uthetha uzokohlukana nayo nomnye xa esemile ugqiba kwakho uzokohlukana nayo sihlale ke ngoku sincokole ngalo basiphetheyo. Enkosi mdala phakamisa.
Ukakuthala moya wangu ungena kamili katotala ezulwini nasalisitara elilizwini katika elindukizayo kuye andika kukuza kutekero Aditike amanina kakubanedayo Yekoike nazalava talela peturu Singeni Sibisi
Ndizawuxhenza ndizovela ke mna. Ndingumama wethu tshana sisikhona siye senze njani nomwethu. Xa sifike sibona uba hayi siyoyika sibona uba eyona nto masiyenze masixhenze sizovela. Amen. Ndingumntu othetha isibane kaloku because kwi-community in-South Africa ne kwi-community endihlala kuyo sithubele kulaa donation yelaphupho likamadina ne. So ke ngoku isiqhelo sayo singqondo sisho isiXhosa. So ndizawuxhenza ndizovela ndingumXhosa ke kodwa but it's been 2 years yi-donation so izawuyoyisa kancinci but ndisekhaya apha. I was so excited umama kafundi ndihamba nofundi ke esitratweni so ufundi athi umama ufuna inamba yakho ndiyamazi mosuma kafundi yo mama fundi ndenze ntoni ndaboyika kanti umama wakho and yazi into yoboyika is because it's respect, you know. And she's like, no, I'm not going to tell you, she's going to tell you. And then we have a phone conversation. They are driving, I'm always busy. Because mama my voice. So, and she's like, Pam, I need you, and I need you to come and speak in our church.
And so I didn't probe a lot. So as I'm here this afternoon, so I'm standing here and I'm like, okay, Bawo, this is such a wonderful opportunity for me to come and learn and to be dishonored as my siblings. So I'm really excited. You have no idea. It's my first time being part of you guys, and I'm so excited about it. It's just a glimpse of heaven for me. You know, it's just a glimpse of heaven for me. So I'm so excited, and I am overwhelmed actually by joy. So ndikhulele eKhayelitsha, naseKhayelitsha, ndakhulela ke naseJoburg, but ndadibana nenkosi in my teens at high school. So I've been known, and I have known God for a while, and I have journeyed with Him as a little child, and I've journeyed with Him in my young adult life, and I've journeyed with Him in Bumameni, and I'm continuing to journey with Him. So it has been a journey that was designed for me, for better me, to equip me to be more like Christ. So, undithwele ndizothetha ngomntu endimazi intimately, endambona ndimncinci, ndaphinda ndambona ndingumama. You know, when you meet God, ungumama, umbonile. So if ugqibele ukudibana noThixo usemncinci, and ngoku ukweni season of your life, umgcina akubonise kabutsha. Kukhona ukuvela phela zambule in each season, in each stage of your life. No matter umncinci, use-university, ask God to reveal Himself afresh to you. You know, no matter usesithembisweni somtshado, ask God to reveal Himself afresh. If He hasn't, you have missed something. Go in the corner somewhere and ask Him to reveal Himself afresh to you. So I asked him, Mama, can you speak up again? So the play way, yeah. So that was a Mama, it's again. Is there sanity? And I said, in what, Mom? Is there sanity that it can? Okay, impossible. Okay. So after the Kundile that, my burden, which is to look after children and then and the goal really that is to restore girls' dignity. You know, because of how they were treated. And as a nobody. And I was like, what? You know, like, what do boys really want? Because this girl has gave up a lot for a while. And again, she's treated this way. And I've seen girls, then I'm a watcher, I observe a lot. I've seen them move from boy to boy, and I was like, they're losing their sense of identity. Because they're selling themselves to this guy, this is all of me, and the guy, no, it's not enough, I see Ulungi, Swaba. So they who they are was never enough for the first boy. Then that means it will never be enough for the third and the fourth boy. You know, if your you is not enough for the they're not looking for you. They're looking for what scratches their itch. So, and then I realized that very early. And I was like, I remember my mom asking, what do you want to do? I was like, I actually wanted to be a social worker. To just say to girls that know your value, you are worth more than what you want to sell yourself for. And later on, a friend said to me, Pam, I actually think uNkulunkulu izela ezweni. Ngumzalwane wasententeni ke manje ne. Ngizawuliza usho ngomhlabeleli yephambili. So, and then I decided then to go to Bible college very early. And I was 18 at the time, and I was scared. I was like, oh, I didn't know about my personality does not fit because yeah, I've learned God's word for 3 years, and I was trained as a woman and children's worker in our church, and I've ministered for more than 10 years as that until the Manabana. So to answer you, I'll make it easier for you now. Is there sanity? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And yes, there will be also for you. God showed me that there is sanity. If we look at Colossians 2, verse 6, and I can read it says, who's got the Bible to read from? Colossians 2, verse 6. Only if you are rooted in Christ. Do you guys do that where someone read out loud? Could you kindly read out loud for me? Colossians chapter 2, verses 6 to 7. I'm going to do this a lot more than a teacher, right? So I'm going to do this a lot. Just read it for me. Closer than building now, you just read along.
Ngokuba njengokuba ngoba namamkelayo uKristu Yesu inkosi, hambani kuye nendele, nakhelwe kuye, naqiniswa ngokholo, njengoko nafundiswayo nafezeka kulo, ninombulelo.
So, I might just need to do English. Do you mind just read it for me out in English? Colossians chapter 2, verses 6.
So then, just as you receive Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in Him, rooted and built up in Him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness.
So only if you are rooted. I want you now to imagine a tree, a big tree. Is it an oak tree? Is it? Just think that in a root zayo, which is on there. They go down. Only if you are rooted in Christ will you find sanity. I am convinced of that. I have journeyed with God. Ngoba iinkuthela ziyafika zinestorm and wind, especially ziyafika umoya kafika uyazoma nabantu. Seriously, have you seen those? So, and those trees are not moving. And remember, we are promised to ukuthi iinkuthela zizofika. And if you are not rooted, ikhona imithi one almost. Umuntu ayoclaima kwamasipala because uwe umthi. So only if you are rooted, and my story, this is how I got to know God and be convinced of only if you are rooted. I was one of those girls that taught women at church who's pattern and what to look for. And to fast forward, I'm going to be quick. So, a guy that was meant to catch my attention, even if I catch his, but even if, even if he catch mine, but for me to catch his attention, he needed to be a certain guy. What's my we've got our tips, especially so it needed not only to be just somebody who knows God, it needed not only to be someone who's a pure woman. In our church we call them pure warmers. Those who always come to church and so it needed to be someone that I know is God according and understands God for himself. So he serves in the church. Serving, God was only that someone who's journeying with God. He doesn't have to be umfundisi up front, but when I pee and then go, because remember that when we are in Christ, we are righteous. Therefore, the fruit of righteousness will come in Galatians. So you will look for those fruits. And I know of course, isn't it? So I found my Prince Charlie, he found me, and I found him. And I remember with a friend of mine, I said, this guy is soaked with God. What is so I said, this guy is soaked with God. But whatever life throws at him, or I throw at him, he just oozes God. He's not just he doesn't just study this, but it is in every bit of his tongue. And he was chosen not only by me, he was chosen by all our church and our church elders. So he was it. The one who was chosen by him. See, I'm trying to encourage myself. I did well. I ticked every box. And the Lord was so kind to us. And in 2012, we had our first with Langa, and he's everything to mom. So, and comes from a home, a father with a lot of homes in the township where the structure is broken down. Because also remember, we mimic adult behavior. And that, because aside we know other than what we see. So being rooted at home, not only at church. Children are learning simply kubantu abadala. So he didn't have that. His parents died of HIV and AIDS when he was young. At 11, he got himself up. And that was a tick for me. I mean, this guy went to retreat with no parents. He's a go-getter, he doesn't do one. And I think we young couples and young mothers, I mean, still on. Oh yeah. You cherish your time, and his time is spent on you. And it's then there's that the time is no longer that way, because now there is a human being that Son gets we are responsible of. And a little bit more Mama, because she had 9 months of bonding. Because this was an outward experience for him. I'm sure I'm just generalizing. So the attention changes at home, but it's still wonderful. We're still fighting through. It's still, in our home, we decided that I get to be a stay-at-home mom, and then their dad works for them because we wanted to raise. I wanted to be there for my children, and know every step. And I was their guide, and it was wonderful. And Chris will come at 5 and put his bag down and be hands-on, and I'll put my feet up, and he'll have coffee and he'll cook. It was just perfect. We had so much fun. And the second one came, Andy, and I had to journey with God. And at that time, Chris that raised him up and died at the same time. and with the pressure of 2 children and a wife. This is me understanding Chris behavior, okay, in front of him. So, and he hasn't seen any man standing with a young wife and 2 little kids. And at home, umdala fanele ayojonga into kamakhulu kuba inguye ohlumileyo. And because I gave Yesu amanyama, and the support, I mean, I'm from about, you know, boiling water and the smell it, and savuleka ukristu. And ukristu, I think he leaned on himself when the going was very hard, and he ran away from God, and that meant that he ran away from us. And I was not promised that. I chose my forever. I grew up in church, and I knew that if we choose each other in front of God and in God, we choose each other for forever. There was no other option. It never existed. This was never going to be the problem I face. Because I'm in God, and God says if we choose each other in Him and for His glory, it's forever. And I've never seen in Gonzweni people who stop choosing each other, you know, and say that aloud, that they stop choosing each other, they're going their separate ways. And I had so many people who were looking at us because we were leaders. And I had these 2 little kids that needed dad. And I needed my husband. He was my husband, the father of my kids. And Chris used alcohol to cope. And it was not nice. And because I knew God and He knew me, that's how I stood. That's how I became saved.
Amen.
And you know what? When I also learned that at church, we're so good in bringing people in. But when those who are inside are hurting, we don't know how to look after them. People I've journeyed with, people I've prayed with, people I've loved with in church, they were anywhere near to be found. And many people are home, but I want to ask to them, why are you coming to me and ask uzobuza home? Abantu babuza kuwe, but you also don't know. Babuza kuwe abantu begonzo when something happened. What did she do? I don't know. I'm waiting on you guys to bring my husband home. Because together we believed in this forever that me and we were creating. Now, why are you singling me out when the forever is not forever? Why are you? I don't know, dreaming. So I had to learn what it means to be rooted in God, because I had to ask God, you're the one who told me this. Where have I gone wrong? Why are you not doing it? Why are you not bringing him over? You are sovereign God. You are in control. You are everywhere. Why are you not in his heart by your spirit and bringing that man over? And the abantu that believed God's word with you, but no! Not ukuthi. How can we have the same testimony nabantu abangaphandle? How can uzokukhuthaza ngendlela ozokhuthaza umuntu ongaphandle? Why are we expecting these things to happen? Why are they given? No, we shouldn't accept these things because they have generation curse. We have to change that narrative. And it can be changed if we are rooted in God. When we fall now with brothers, my eternal fathers, to say, oh, Sindiki address, and they go and bring him as he is. And he goes and they bring him like, I'm not in this alone. I've got siblings. But when I neither them have learned, I'm in it alone. And remember, I've not got the same thing. So I believed every word to be true. And I had to learn to be blessed. It comes with a whole lot of shame. Remember the shame. Remember in leadership. People are watching and I have no idea. This is not plan B. This is not my second marriage. So I don't have an experience. As it's happening to them, it's happening to me too. We're all alive. It's not like I had it there on and they will ask me questions. Have you had anything? No. Do you think he's going to go and call me again and say he's by the door? If he was by the door, will he not be here? So if you don't know God for yourself, if you have not joined God on your own, before the community, before if you do not know God, I had to remember that I knew this God before I met Tadabarunama. In the midst of this storm, he is there with me. And what's the matter? And then I said, can't you see it's storming? But he knows he's with the one. He is the one who controls the wind and the wave. You need to stand and be rooted because life is ugly. And hence God had to become man and die on the cross. Because life is ugly. Life brings shame and death and humiliation. Hence the cross had to happen. Cross didn't happen for people who do, they so evil. Oh, take sorry. No. It happens for, sin is ugly. If you have not met the ugliness of sin, pray to God never to meet it. Sin is not pretty. Sin brings shame. The shame that in Romans that says there's no longer shame, because you know what? Shame kills. That's why people are in drugs, because of shame, of they trying to numb things they have done. Sin is not pretty. And I love Revelation, I think it's 21 verse 4, it says, it wipes out tears. If your cheek is not full of tears, ask God to journey with you. If whether your Christianity is the Christianity of, what do you call these social networks? Or face, what do you call Instagram? If when it's all well, love lives here, ask God to was a over the cross. Or when you're in the room, only then do you become real. When you journey with God, you're not going to say to everything. When you journey with God, I was ukala mama. When you journey with God, tata awuhamba unotanda. Mama awuzothetha kanjani nakutata when you journey with God. Uzisa isimilo. And do you know what? Because I'll chat, dear, I know all of you. I chat na Yesu. Umiyeni wakakangwa Yesu. Father wakakangwa Yesu. Therefore, you need to be rooted. Otherwise, you'll fight back. And there are homes where bitterness rules. Abantwana bazi bitterness endlini, but enkonzweni bazolove live here. Because you're in front of people. Wena wakuthixwa ngabona emfihlakalweni ubona xa uphambi kwabantu. Our homes are led by bitterness because you don't want to sit down and talk with it. The way you've answered me hurt my feelings. It scratched image of God in me. And let's talk about how we use our money. Like the way we live our lives, apparently, it doesn't say we are one. There's two people, apparently. But the Bible says we are one. Help me, can we find a way how we could be one in our money? It's our money, not my money, our money. Transparency. Or when you are transparent and conjoined, you are very quick to give a conjoined, but mindfully, so like the song, ukon. And you know what? I'm generalizing as a black community how to do marriage. It's hard for us to do marriage because apartheid and colonization hurt us. It took our dad away from our moms in Kai. God entrusted that wife to you. But they've never seen me from January to December. Because Manila is a drawback. So it's harder now. Our husband, they need to be with us 24/7, and it's harder for them. They've never seen a man standing with a wife 24/7 and being insane. That's why also when I said what she said to cool off. And that has become our culture, and we have accepted that. And mama, Baba sent in the hour, and that's why it's going to us in the land 13, spending a lot of time, it's like on the Zimbabwe, it's very school. That we have to actually, as is our home rooted in God's word, or culture is the one that we are rooted in. And we lead our homes and our businesses and our parenting through culture instead of through God's word. That is a lamp unto our feet. And if you say, look in our communities. Our communities are broken because our homes are broken. Our communities reflect our homes. Our boy child are not finishing even school, education. Our boy children, they don't even get to matric. And I'm going to ask for that. It's your fault, Dad, that our children are developing our. It's your fault, man, because you are not there at home. Children observe. If you are not leading in everything, then is feeling entitled to that girl that you need to serve me, I'm your Lord. Because what are you paying you? And when you guys stuff that messed up their mind and stuff that they cannot get out of. So we need to be rooted, and our homes need to be rooted in Christ. As a family, abantu who don't know God. We need to be laughter because it's in the lessons and I find if that means you have conform. But do not conform. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. How do you renew your mind? To read God's word and let it be rooted. Okay, so be rooted and also remember whose you are. You have been bought at a price. You are not your own. So I could easily say, and my children would have lost both parents. Because I could have been a pleasant mom, but a mom who's full of anger, who's full of bitterness, and shouted at my mom all the time. Because this place is some over. So I've chosen my feelings. Instead of nailing my feelings and my head at the cross and being rooted in the midst of this storm that I do not know. Yes, ma'am. Goku, you the one who's hurt. you need to surrender your feelings to Christ. God expects you to live for His glory in the midst of your pain. Your children cannot lose both of you. You can be present in body but absent in mind and emotions. And no matter as well. You need to refuse. Because you are repeating the cycle that abantwana bangenza usihamba nje enkonzweni. So you need to spend time with them because you know what? I'm hurt. I do not want to stand up and nurture these children and care for them. No, they're yours. God has entrusted them to you. It's a privilege to be given children. And it's a full of responsibility. In my ways, not your way. You are just a caretaker parent. You have no say when they are born and when they die. God, you are a caretaker. Are you doing a good job? Remember whose you are and who they are. They're not yours. They've been bought at a price. Train them so that when their parent, when their father comes, they are the same image as him. So pray, be rooted in God, otherwise you will lose it. Satan is a roaring lion, is waiting for you to live on your own strength. For you to say, yes, but also as a vessel what God used. You didn't say God used us, you were also willing to be used. And again, we as well, you're the one who's left, and you need to live for His glory and train those children to be in the best image of Christ. And it's not easy. It's impossible. And our communities don't support or showing Oscars or showing that. Instead, they mock it. They mock you. They make it even harder. You don't have the support. But God, if you are rooted, is your support. Okay, so remember who you are in the midst of your pain. Bitterness is not the fruit of the Spirit. Anger is not the fruit of the Spirit. Remember who you are. Don't let those things be rooted in Israel, because if you're not watching, they will be rooted. This will mean. And that will be who you are. And I'm not going to and the mother will not answer because when I go to a bank, I got born in my car. When now I support you, hence your attitude is bad because you are so tired. Do you think I'm saying somebody about my so how do you know when I'm telling someone, I'm so exhausted, I have no patience, I'm losing it. Do you think God called you only when you are sane and not losing? In all seasons we are called to bear the fruits of the Spirit. Remember who you are. And also I want to encourage you that you're not doing this life thing alone. Go read the book of Daniel. He was always there with them. In the fire, he was there. In the lion's den, he was there. You are not doing life alone. The Spirit that rose Christ from the dead is in you. So, it's the Spirit that calls dead things to come to life. Call your dead feeling to come to life. Don't call it if you're busy telling that person is you, you will never save anyone. We're busy most of our time. We are praying for other by him. I don't know what is doing his journey with God. Because as the way you treat him, I am only attractive anyway. You are so bitter. You're not kind to me.
you're not joyful and hope. Then again, the atmosphere, the attitude, the action, mannerism, it's not welcoming. So stop praying pray for your salvation. Because you will never save anyone about it. Why you busy saying, what about you? Who told you to? Only when Christ comes back or when you die, pray for your attitude at home. Because children are watching. And, I used to, when it was tough, I mean, it's been 6 years, and in our country, wives get abandoned. And that's normal. But that means that's abandonment. That's not something to be excited about. Abandon us and me and my children. And when you say what he's going to happen. So I'm one of those abandoned women. He chose not to divorce me because somehow, there's a control that people who are not with Christ feel they have to. They can't we are up. But that's not how God says, love your wives and look after and take care. It's forgotten that part. And he needed to hold on more to that part of loving. Because love. He says, respect. Man is meant to love. And love is the doing word. It's a choice, daily choice. So, ask him, is your husband loving you? Ask him, you are allowed, it's in the scripture. And then, are you loving your wife? God asked him, and then, are you respecting your husband? Oh, Mama Buzani, are you respecting what I was? Are you respecting them? And they don't know about who's everybody. And go to their time of sweets in the kitchen as a sort of about a red hand. Simple saying that's me. When then that's holding us accountable. Only who's the kitchen to turn it down. Suppose I don't have a one. I will tell you. There's a moment in Central was Kenya. So I take high, who's a what too. Gemma was so young, the government, you don't spend the time with us. Hello. You are holding it's naked, that you shouldn't do. Now we are corner of the behind closed door. By keeping quiet, you are not loving them. Sin is every day. You have to ask each other, are you loving your wife? Ask him the palm of wife. If I'm not saying because I born ask each other, are you respecting your husband? And wives, we know we've got an attitude, no matter the respect from them. But the attitude here to eat our mannerism. Because I sort of feel food. I just pack some default part. I mean, are you being serious? You're so bitter. Are you being serious? Hold on. Do you know? So the part of us pack Lord. Hey, Lord, you are entrusted this guy. Hey, and then you never mentioned the son. You all of your wrong. You know that, and then we somebody is in this conversation because if we were not, we won't have this conversation about it. How does that do? Who and often you walk on if I can for my me and right, I'm first on. Yeah, you are kind of bad. I have to go, ma'am. You made him learn that kind. You say, I because I want them when Christ comes and he finds them. And I want them to change the black marriage narrative. Mahuma, better change. You say, no. Stop acting in the tradition. Want to change, man. It's costing us these things that you guys are wasting homes where we can raise children. You are scientists, raise children that will change the generation. And then we sit in a generation of, no. I saw Spencer say it, we need to want to change the narrative of black people. Mafia was born, never tell your men, no, it has something to our psyche. So remember this, central to you. When you are struggling to love this man that God has chosen for you, know that you are strength again to love him and to respect him. And he too, and I tell you, that I love your wives. And you are best to be more like me when you have this person next to you. And Father Jesus says that you are meant to be more like him. Do you believe God or you believe your own feelings? So stick it out. Mistakes are there, but please. In our community, there are gatherings. And now,
I think talk is beginning before just one song and I'm sure emotions there to have been moved whichever direction. So it's talk and
34.
Amen. God is good
All the time.
all the time.
God is good.
Siyambulela uThixo owongamele konke into yokubana masibe silapha ngeli xesha kule ndawo ibizwa ngegama lakhe. Ayikho into emjikela ngasemva uThixo zonke izinto zenzeka phambi kwakhe uyazihlela yena ngokwakhe wayesazi kwamhlambe into yobana sawube silapha sidibene ngale program sileli nani sililo. Siyavuya ke ukubana uThixo wasiloko enenjongo ezinhle ngathi esibekela izinto ezinhle. Kumnandi ke kuba namhlanje siyaxhamla nakule iprogram. Uphem uthetha i-conversation yakhe nosisithandi was not so forthcoming. I also had the same. I was just told ukuthi Simons uzosenzela in the afternoon in mental health. We will be speaking about depression and bipolar disorder. So that is what I am about. Trying again to dig. Usisikhandi waske wandixelela nge-demographics zebandla. Bapha ebandleni, abantu bapha ebandleni, 80% of them bayang, omama abayang, unmarried, abaninzi banosisa abaphangelayo ezindlini and so on. So bayajuglisha with life and so on, bayahaslisha. So I thought maybe that was hint. Maybe there must be something for them as well. With the any clash I'm going to zama ke into yobana ibe khona ngoba yinto encinci kangakanani na. Is there sanity? That is a big question. I mean, abantu abaninzi ababhali bathethile nge-sanity comes to mind Shakespeare. Shakespeare, what yena, we are all insane, but we differ ngokwe-degrees. Nangamaxesha ekuthi i-insanity le yethu imanifeste. But wonke umuntu kuye has got it in him or in her to be insane. Thixo wethu ke yena wasidala ngokoyikekayo. Zonke ezi zinto thina sihambe siphelele yena wazenza zagqibelela. So kuba kubuchule into yokubana xa sesihambile sibethekile apha ehlabathini sibona ukuthi now we are aiming, then we go back kumbumbi wethu because yena he is able to restore us. Ndixakiwe ke mna nje uba ndizawuyenza njani. I see the time. I'm looking at my presentation. Think. Okay. Mandikale nge-disclaimer. Now I am ndilapha namhlanje to speak because I had a fair share of depression. So during my talk, I will be tapping in. We experience with depression. So I believe that is why I am still very tender because it's a life journey. And I was thinking, as we are unpacking the depression, we will get to hear about the causes, what are the triggers of depression. Mine was severe disease. It came from severe disease. The disease that took away, robbed me of my cognitive functioning, whereby I couldn't understand izinto ebendikwazi uzenza before, I couldn't do them anymore. Even the work I was doing before I became sick, I couldn't understand. You know, xa usemsebenzini une-programs zakho, you have mos i-checklists. I will open up the laptop and see this thing is saying a checklist of a certain program. Then I will look for the whole day and try and make sense. What is this? And that was designed by me, for me, to assist me. Very, 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 very dark space to be. I couldn't understand. I just couldn't understand. As I'm standing here, I'm thinking the quickest way of doing this. Okay. Another disclaimer is the disease process rendered me to be suffering from memory fog. So now and then, I tend to forget what I want to say or what I meant to say. But it has improved a lot.
Amen.
And I was juggling with saying yes, Kubanadizoma, but I decided to come and stand here and be a testimony that I am work in progress. When it comes to mental health, God is for us. Who can be against us? How do I do this? Okay. Okay. I think I'm comfortable. Where is the person? So I will just say. Okay. Okay. In my introduction, I'm just saying God has got good things, good plans for us. All of us. He wants us to be restored to a healthy state. And then this healthy state, it involves different spheres of one person. Being physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Going through life, we might encounter situations that will threaten the homeostasis within this functional NGO namhlanje. I'm going to start with the definition of health. According to WHO, health is being defined as a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being. And it doesn't only allude only to the absence of the disease. And then today we are about mental health. So what is mental health itself? WHO also defines mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities. This person is able to cope with normal stresses of life. We come to this earth, we know there will be stressors. So in order for you to be sound in mind, you need to be able to cope with the normal stresses of life. And then you are able to work productively and fruitfully. And you must be able to contribute to your own community. then you are in the optimal mental state. If your mental state only works for you, then it's not complete. That is very scary. Because as we are looking at each other now, we are struggling in our corners. We feel we are not fulfilled. We want to do things, but we don't get to doing them. This is now for yourself, for your family. What about the community? This says to the church that a church needs to be able, just as the individuals are, we need, in order to be sane, to deem ourselves as sane mentally, we're supposed to be able to contribute positively to the community. Okay, what about the optimum health? Optimum health, if we look into the Maslow hierarchy of needs, a person who's optimally healthy has these needs fulfilled. Okay? In summary, what I'm going to say, it is in a hierarchy form, meaning that you need to master the first level and then go to the next level. What is scary about this hierarchy of needs? Struggling to master each level is what is going to motivate your behavior. Nidibanise nalando yokubana, as a church, we're supposed to contribute to our community. Yeah? So if we are mentally sane, it's not supposed to benefit only us. It should benefit the community as well. So if there are people that are struggling to meet the mere physiological needs, like there is no food, there is kulanjiwe, and the needs zabo as comment, like the physical needs as go met by strugglisha, that person akanayo the ability of thinking in your manner, what am I going to be when I have graduated? Because if behavior yake will be motivated by the level ashiyeke kuyo leya ipha. So that person is going to want to struggle for food. And that's the money I did for Nabana. Is gonna want to struggle for food. Also, like safety and security, esteem needs, accept, affirm. It doesn't mean anything because that person is hungry. Yeah, I can touch it. I can't join it. Oh, okay. Okay, today, I'm gonna speak briefly, because I'm gonna speak briefly about those things. Essentially, stand umphathi wethu into yobana akafuni into yobana sibe sithethe ngezi medical terms, whatever. Ufuna into yobana what must the church do, and then how is the church going? How can the church be enabled to assist when it comes to this? I've put those two conditions that if bipolar disorder and depression, both of them, they allude to a mood, how you feel. And how you feel is also going to motivate, or it's also going to inform your behavior. So, bipolar mood disorder, that means we extremes. As a mood is going to in both the extremes, fortunately, they are a very small percentage. It's not what we see every day. But there are myths when it comes to bipolar mood disorder. Some of us, they expect to see umuntu happy, and then aphinde atshintshe abe lantuka. It doesn't happen like that. Ne? For bipolar, depression, njengoba ndisithi lo muntu u-alternator between a depressive state and a manic state. Manic state is a happy-go-lucky person. Everything is doable. Ulight, take risks. Yonke into ethi mayenziwe doesn't even need of sleeping. Why must I sleep when I'm this happy? Uyaspenda imali, uthatha risky behaviors. Akho nto nje ayoyikayo, ne? That is in the manic state. And then sometimes ke indlela mhlawumbi abanye abantu baye bazipresente ngayo. I want a right way to say this. Indlela that they present themselves sometimes, ne? In a dress form, mhlawumbi umuntu akhethe very bright colors, ne? And then the ladies put makeup, abe made up, so, and then that one is many, everything is out there, speaking to the way that that person is feeling. And then the cause of bipolar is unknown, but everything, when it comes to mentality, it's linked to the brain. There are neurons, transmitters, and then if there is an abnormality in them and the way that they are functioning, okay? And then it is also linked to some genes, but it is not known which gene is responsible. But what is known is if in your genealogy somebody had it, and then they will be, although as rare it is, it can happen. Going on the other side, depression. It may occur once in your life, or you might be having concurrent episodes. That one, this one had the highs and the low. This one is about the lows. When it comes to the mood, you're feeling listless, you're feeling sad, you're feeling empty, there's a feeling of hopelessness, you are struggling even to do the minor daily activities and so on. And you just feel like, why am I still living? What is the reason for me to be alive? That is a very dark space that you can be. But it does happen. And same applies, the cause is not exactly known. But with that others, there is also a hormone imbalance that can be into effect there. And then also the genetics. But there is still an ongoing research about the genetics of it. What is important about depression is it doesn't, as it says there, it doesn't discriminate. It affects everyone in every ages, in every developmental stage of life. And it might also be triggered by not coping with the natural events. I don't want to say negative, but natural difficult events that we know that we are going to go through. To remember, you're supposed to be able to cope with the stressors. So sitting here, all of us, we know we are going to die, but it is difficult to deal with grief. And not being able to cope with the loss of the significant other that was so close in your heart can lead you to go into depression. And also there is a lot of situations, life-changing situations. You had a paying job and so on, and boom, you are unemployed. You don't know what to do. That can also lead to depression because adapting to that situation is not easy because it didn't give you any notice. It just happened. And the responsibilities that you had while you were employed are still there. But what are you going to do? So it can lead you to depression. Continuing there, okay, we're saying the bipolar mood disorder is associated with episodes of mood swings. You range from the depressive low, and then you go to the manic, the highs. Depression itself, I did explain, and then I did say it might be triggered by not coping with all this. And one of the situations is health diagnosis of a major life-threatening disease. Okay. Facts about both the conditions. It is very difficult to control or see it coming. It's coming, it's slowly coming to us now. The people that are around, the affected people. The affected people, they didn't get a notice. They just saw the life changing and they don't understand what is happening to them. And most of them, they don't even know that they are in depression. They see themselves all of a sudden struggling. And then both of these conditions they benefit from psychotherapy and medication. And then each situation presents itself differently. What it means is, because I had a share of depression, my depression, the way it presented itself, is not the same as the way PEM depression presented itself. Because remember, it also goes back to the triggers, and it also goes back to you as a person. What makes you tick and how rooted you are. What is in your support structure. Support for both is essential. A difficult one. We've got these people that are struggling. They are not coping. What can the church do in this situation? Is this in the control of the church? What does the church think are the needs of these people? Remember, for that person, the one who is in depression, it took a lot of that person to actually be seated here on Sabbath.
Maybe that person didn't get out of bed for days, but something motivated him that I need to go to church. So this person is here today, not saying anything, came in through that door and sat there. What can the church do for that person? Anyone can answer.
I guess not to judge the person, but who happy when they sing or happens to act in a different way that we did act. Let them be, because we don't know how quick way doing at that present moment.
Thank you. That questions is also started, but this one had prompted. Yes, the person needs to come to church and be accepted as they are. They came to church because they wanted to see Jesus. So, judging them while they are in their own struggle that we don't know, they might chase them away. Because maybe Lamb thought, if I come to church, there will be something for me. And then the church continues to be a very cold place, and the person looks around, everyone else looks happier than themselves, and everyone is just not being moved by them being there. But most importantly, if it is someone that is known at the church, in the church, by the church members, then if the church members didn't create a relationship, I'm not saying all of us, maybe a person who knows that person and will know ukuthi no, ubani namhlanje akakho right. That will do. And my sister, when she said you don't judge the person, even when you are asking, are you okay namhlanje? I notice in that I'll right. Do you want me maybe see anything, or do you want to share what is bothering you? You know? Or else just be in next to the person. And then that person sees that you are intentional. And then he maybe think I can approach. Because depression, it goes deeper. The feeling of hopelessness, it goes up until they have suicidal thoughts. And then, boom, something has happened. Hi, Emerson wants me. Hi, is that true? The person was gone. What can church do? In Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, Solomon saw this. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And then at the end it says, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. That person has come to church to find a haven. That person has come to church because that person needs acceptance. That person has come to church because that person needs compassion. But it is a difficult situation. It is not easy. I'm not saying the church is not doing the work. It is not easy because most cases they go undetected. So that means a church must have, unlike what is happening in Langa church, cell groups ziyaqhubekeka. So in that smaller group, you are able to see ukuthi nangu ubani uright, and in that small cell group ninayo, you get to be able to visit and see ukuthi ubani uphila kanjani. And then you will know what is you will be able to see when there is incongruence to behavior kabani, because you know the situation yakhe briefly inje nanje. Yeah, I think the same is visiting. What does that person need when it comes here? There is something that I don't see there. Okay, if you are fortunate enough to be close to that person, we said they are struggling to meet, the day-to-day activities, because of the way they are feeling. Then you are able to say, and then it doesn't mean anything to her. But when you've gone there to be present, so while you are present, you are doing something for Langa. And then at the end of it, then you will say, oh my God, if I do this, what will happen to my aunt that came to visit me yesterday, wanting to be of assistance? I think maybe my auntie cares about me, and my auntie doesn't judge. But why do you do this? Why can't you shake this thing off? Because it's not something that you can shake off. You so wish that you can shake off. What does the church need? It's some of the needs. The church needs a lot. Number one, if we don't know about these conditions, then they won't exist to us. So the church needs to empower itself about these conditions. With mental health, there is a lot of stigma attached to it. That is one of the reasons that people are not forthcoming when they feel they can see, and some of them, Silently, they have been referred. Some of them are under psychiatrists, but abangeke bayithi into yokubana I'm suffering from this for the fear of being stigmatized. I know from experience when I was ready to go back to work after months and everyone knew what is wrong with me, what has happened to me, because I've went for incapacities and so on, because it was just a roller coaster. When I got there, I saw that my colleagues, they're looking at me differently. You know, it's okay for everyone else to have a bad day. But for me, if I'm having just an off day, then people, I can see they are on the lookout. Is she gonna break down now again? What is she doing? What did you do to her? And so on. So that is stigma, because we go through emotions, different emotions, even when you are not depressed. It is normal. The approach is very important. It's a cliche. It's not what you say, but it's how you say it that will bring some results. A person will be able to know if you are saying it because you have to say it, or you really care. As sick as they are, but they are able to pick up on those feelings. And then we need to know, as a church, the resources that are available in the community. In the community. What is there in the community? Where can the people go? And what is at reach? To that person. And then we must know when to refer a person. And also the way we go around doing it. Because it's very important to communicate to the person, talk with the person. Kungathethwa around the person, kungathi umuntu akasekho. Because that is another issue that shows ukuthi we see ourselves as better than them. Okay, some of the resources. That resource there on top, the pastor. What do we think about that resource? The pastor of the church, what do you think about that resource?
I think it's a very important resource. Because he is in touch with the people with the emotions. So I think it's very important.
Thank you, Mama. It is a significant resource, but channeling it to the pastor. Channeling it, how are we going to channel it to the pastor? And if we're saying it is an important resource, that means that role of a pastor, what we think the pastor can do for that person while the pastor is not here, we must start doing it. Because how long are we going to wait for the person to speak to the pastor? Okanye, am I wrong?
Indlela othetha ngesicebisa ngayo. Ndingatsho ndithi pastor ixesha iyafumaneka. But ingxaki enkulu sichazele kodwa senzo nyaka into ezininzi indima nedima bedingane. Balabadikoni sibefortunate into esifundileyo. Bathatha siqalelwe indima edlala ngumfundisi. Andizazi indlela kamfundisi mna. Andimazi umfundisi kumele kwenza ntoni akamelanga kwenza ntoni. Ndiyabona abadala bayaphithizela bangabefundisi. Bagqibile, ndiyancama umsebenzi awenzayo kanti bayabhatalwa. But umsebenzi kamfundisi ngamaxesha ndikawuwazi ndiyahlala uwazi. One, mna ndiphila nto nebhayibhola. Kamandi iyathetha iyaza ukubana ngozuvela athethe. Njengoba ndizawuthenga ngepressure yam, ngediabetes yam, iyathetha nje okay. Qala kwakhe ukugula ndibasiyabone. Nekuyazi la uzawuthetha njani, uzamkhondisa njani. Asingena bamgeni yofika kumanqathi uyathetha ude angene esibhedlele. Andizuyake apho. Kanti ndingahlala endawo kamfundisi. Kulelwe. Fortunately for mna, ndandingene ethembeni, andizukubuza umfundisi wexesha elinye. Akumthetheni ke sinoba bezama usihlalela bathi yandiqala esihlalela bathi umntu ayihlala naye kuloo feyila behlala kuyo wasithathela waza naye. Fine. Sambona ngathi akukho right namhlanje impela. Ndithetha mna ke usazama umkhombisa sifuna sesibhedlela sifuna sesibhedlela. But fortunately for us wafuna ukuba bangaya kumfundisi. Bani yakumama bani ndizawuya. Nyani siyakumama bani sihamba sotsho umfundisi. Sathetha phantsi kobusuku sathetha engadakhondiseke. Ekugqibeleni wavuma angahamba. Sambulela uThixo for that. Ndithetha uba umfundisi wagqibela ngaloo mini. Andisho nangomso andithi makaye just a phone call. So ndiyona ke ndinengxaki andizazi i-job description kamfundisi. Mhlawumbi ke ayodipaneti yakhe inkosi mama.
Enkosi mama kakhulu. Ndiyayibona ke ngoku when I was asking that resource iphana eqaleni. Uyabona because umfundisi uyi-one. Thina sibangaphi. And umama ibeke yacaca into yobana there are departments apha enkonzweni. That we can refer these things. And then when we've reported these things to umfundisi. And also there is nothing stopping us as a church to have a-committee ezawuditshana nezinto zethu that are confidential. Like abantu, as umama echaza into yokubana that person identified umama apha enkonzweni anawuthetha naye. Angavuma uba uthetha nomama uzibani. So we need into yokubana sibe ngobamama banjalo. Uyabona ezo members zinjalo of the church ukwenzela kungasweleki into xa umuntu kukho into emtyayo ngaphakathi angayithetha okanye the family, the significant other has picked up ukuthi now this is the time for intervention. Okay. Yes.
And at the first side, how it was probably translated even on a channel on the morning as on Saturday. And we feel like so that people realize so sometimes it's how to handle open another at the church. I think probably that our decision now is we need to come, spend it for that. Because we can really identify the music. We need to have to find or come there's no one because the economy I suppose we can. To all the way from I think they will take it all for education so that every now so I think we need responsibility.
Mama andiboneli mani andibashamba nditheni kakuhle ndithi mama xa wenzeka ofika just a phone call zange sibekho nemini bendinapho otherwise mhlawumbi siye
Mama, enkosi siyabulela as uba usise esitsho naye umfundisi akekho equipped mhlawumbi of dealing and the situation, but umfundisi as you feel mama, suppose into yobana xa engakwazi ukudilishana ne-situation asapote aba bantu bamgqongileyo umama. We understand. Okanye xa engazukwazi ukufikelela yena akwazi ukuthumela abantu into yobana there is a situation. Uyabona kwelaa khaya siyathandaza kwelaa khaya masithandaziswe kwelaa khaya because we are dealing with a situation kwelaa khaya. Uthini na? Okay. Ngicela nje umzuzu oyi-1 in conclusion. Imizuzu emibili, 1 each. Depression is when it comes to nowadays to the male species because of the expectations that us as a society have on our men, starting from the boy child. They covers it again. We need to empower these boys, and from the early age, it is okay not to be okay, whether you are a boy or you are a man. It is okay not to be coping. It is okay to talk about the problems that you are encountering. Tina Bomama, we are the nurturers in our homes. So, like in Tina, we are all growing physically and spiritually in our homes because it also a kind. So to nurture is to look after. So something while that thing is growing. I was going to talk about the first 1,000 days of each child's life. That is where we can start small. Mama, abanabantwana, abancane. First 1,000 days is from conception up until 2 years. What is important? Within that first 1,000 days, 80% of the physical weight of the brain has been developed. So if umntana akakhange needs that were met, umntana was malnourished, umntana akangafumani thando, izawumenza namntana into yobana angakwazi ukuyireacha i-potential ebemele uba unayo uyayireacha. So thina as omama emakhayeni we need to start small ngolo hlobo. Asikwazi ke ukuzenza ezi zinto singekho kuye uThixo. So, yena usobelezayo. So we need to go back. Kwimbali nomgqibelelisi wokholo lwethu, ngoba iimpendulo zonke zilele kuye.
Alright, bethuna ke ixesha le-gospel abadiboni abadala wondering into yoba kutheni singariphi apho. It doesn't give us time ke ngoku to go to the questions. Share my challenge with health. Uba ngaba iyayithatha ibaleke nayo lebhanile sesiyiqalile, but andikwazi kudala kungabaluleki abantu ebebecelile into yoba ngaba mabeze apha phambi kwethu and make themselves vulnerable. Because when you speak about your life and yourself in front of people ongaqhelanga uthetha nabo, that's making yourself vulnerable. But ke uphi andiboni udala ubethu qulathi ukuthi awukwazi ukuyipeyinti ungabikho game. So on the basis of that, they have come to Langa Church. Ngale mini yomama, mama uthi ngento, mama uthwala. Siyabulela mani. Izulu lona lizabulela phucukileyo because thina sawugqitha kule program hlanga sizumkhumbula. But uThixo, because he will know the impact and the value added to us as a church, ukuma kwenu apha phambi kwethu uyayazi uThixo uthini nani. Hence ezakwazi into yoba aniphe amandla okuqhubekeka. Who knows, maybe this is your purpose, we don't know. That will encourage us ngeli xesha linzima kangaka ebomini bokuphila kwethu, where we live ubomi of non-extended family life as a result, a nuclear family or a blended families that people are dealing with, without the support that was great, ngexesha lethu le-extended family, whereby now ubhatyaza na umama umakhulu will take over until Pam ukwazi into yoba uzilungise uyeke imke-bitterness, imke-anger. But we thank you for that. Sizawucela ke ngoku into yoba ngaba iqale iVespa, sizawuthandaza ke kodwa sikwazi ukaba singathandazanga sihle sizibibini and then sinikele over kwendala ke for uculo longena. Sacela sisimuze yasibale ngomthandazo. Cela sixolele. Nkosi uba unothando ngendlela yodwa ngexesha sibulela abantwana bakho ngeemessages obanike bona, osibanike zona this afternoon. Oh Lord, ngokwenene sihlala kwilizwe Nkosi elinezinto ezisenza Nkosi sizibone sesiphazamisekile ngeendlela ezahlukeneyo. Ngendlela yodwa ke uba usicela ngexesha ube nathi, amaxesha amaninzi when you talk of mental health sifake istigma phakathi, kanti Nkosi sifanele ukuba kungona sisondela omnye komnye. Ngendlela yodwa ke uba uyiba nabantwana bakho xa bezawuphuma ngoku, sibulela Nkosi i-department ye-WM ethe yacinga uba ibazise ukwenzela uba Nkosi sikhumbule Nkosi ukuba ibalulekile into yokuba Nkosi sibe ngabakhathaleli omnye nomnye. Ngeli xesha ke sizawuyaleza neenkonzo ezawulandela emva koku, sicela wena Nkosi ube nathi, usinike ilizwi lophambi kwale veki ukuze Nkosi usikhusele naxa sigoduka ngenxa kaKristu Nkosi siyathandazana.
Baphethi ilanga
Maranatha Masada. Nkosi yethu iyeza. Okay, uyisele emnyango nenkonzo yanamhlanje. Siyothatha unumber 38, the first and the last line. Forward to the hands of me, rolling my phone, and see to Jesus Christ. That is the trouble around every time at once. Everyone later, rolling together and pussy. Says a hawk to my mobile of pussy. Secondary, they can't bear. Was made up in my mind. Was made up ability, was seriously in the back of was my hand. Such ethical city, good by the trouble to support. We ask you for that just not because infant is from the country. So it's good to know. Seeing us as we be again training to another week. And give it almost the same as it's taking that. When I get to come to the mass, we said it was for them. When I get to come to the so you get to plus one sing from the living was the best moment because we want to change and want to be able to. We thank you, Father, for hearing our prayers and Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Maranatha Masada.
Yes, Lord.
Inkosi yethu iyeza. Ndiyabona sibuyile lapha. Ndijonge ixesha langayo sijongisi sibuyele esikhweleni. Phambili ndingene kwintetho yam emfutshane namhlanje mandidlule nje kule ndawo uba xa litshona ilanga ibirthday katata uSuseni namhlanje. Zabona uba uyabhulasha phantsi. Manje umphato siwunikiwe ebantwini. Okwam nje ukongeza bahleze mhlawumbi umphato uyakwazi ukuphila esithubeni. Nakanti imoto usendleleni ungazi ke uba uzawuqhubeleka uhambe ubheke phambili thina. I-theme ndibuzile ke kumphathi cha ndithini i-theme wathi uthi uthande ithi heroes of faithfulness. Omama ke abangobantu babazihlile bafane babezihlile. In fact ubuhero obu bayihero lento ithandwa ngaba bantu babafakile izandla. Ubuhero ke abantu abathi siphulela umnqwazi kule nto yenzayo. Le nto yenzayo ke ingayinto entle, ingayinto embi, ingasisono but yayihero yam uba thulile umnqwazi. Kanti uthi uqhekeza ibhanki into njengoba eqhekeza ibhanki akade abantu abe kuyihero ke kwabanye abantu. Incwadi yeBhayibhile ke is full of
heroes of faith. But all these heroes of faith, amaxesha amaninzi ngootata, bambalwa oomama abakhoyo. Kodwa ke bakhona abakhoyo esibabonileyo bebhaliwe phaa kwi-Wall of Fame. Abamama ke ndithetha ngabo, ndithetha ngoomama abanjengoRakhile, ooDebra, ooMary Magdalene, ooHana, noMaria oomama kaYesu. Zibe mbini qha incwadi eBhayibhileni ezingoomama, incwadi kaEsther nencwadi kaRuth. Ndizawuthetha ke mna ke apha kwecala likaRuth. I-memory verse yethu ke is found in the book of Ruth, chapter 1. Incwadi emfutshane kodwa ke incwadi kaRuth inebali elimnandi kakhulu. Ruth chapter 1 verse 16. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ingayikosike ngisikelele ukufunda kwezilwane ngokujebuna phakathi. Amen. Uthe usive xa bethetha apha emini wenza illustration, wabuza kwi-ambassadors into yokokubana xa kunothiwa mabaye kwilizwe abangalaziyo apho bazawufumana i-inheritance, bangathini na? Batsho into yokokubana bangathini, bangaya. Nosive naye wathi hayi nam ndingaya. Kweli bali ke likaRuth sifumana le family, ifamily kaElimeleki ehamba nonkosikazi wakhe uNaomi besuka kwilizwe lakwaIsrayeli. Basuka phaa emva nje kwexesha labagwebi. Incwadi yabagwebi yona ivala isithi wonke ubani esenza ngokukholekisekileyo emehlweni akhe. Uthi gqike ngoku le ncwadi kaRuth. Le family iya kwindawo apho kukhonzwa khona izithixo, kwaMowabi. Xa befika apha kwaMowabi, xa uhamba nabantwana ke, it is very likely into yokubana abantwana bakho ekhuleni kwabo batshate abantu babe nento yokwenza naba bantu beloliswa. Kube njalo ke nakwikhaya likaNaomi. Oonyana bakhe bathe babona amakhosikazi apha kwaMowabi. Lihleli ke ekhaya kuba libaleka indlala kwaIsrayeli, nezinye abazibalekayo kuba bekukho i-unrest phaa. Xa befika ke ngoku batshate ke oonyana, hlale ke wasweleka umyeni kaNaomi, wahlala noonyana bakhe nomolokazana. After 10 years baswelekile nabo oonyana. uNaomi uthe ke weva into yokokubana amafu into yokubana noko izinto emva ekhaya zibhetere, wafuna ukubuyela ekhaya. But uthe xa izawubuyela ekhaya wayiconsiderisha into yokokubana noko abamolokazana bam mandingahambi nabo, mandibashiye apha. I can imagine after all nokunento ethi abanabo nabantwana, and so babashiyeke kwiifemeli zabo. Bathetha nabo babashiyeke. Uthe lo mdala wavuma into yokokuba ashiyeke, kodwa lo umncinci onguRuth uthe yena uthethe ngamazwi athi, "Ndizawuhamba nawe ndithi vu apho uthi vu khona, uThixo wakho abe nguThixo wam, ze ndingcwatywe apho ukhoyo nawe." Kweli bali ke kukho izinto ezimbalwa ndifuna sizijonge size sohlukane endithe ndazifunda kweli bali likaNaomi. Into yokuqala, njengobana uRuth esithi uyahamba, akukho inheritance athenjiswe yona. Uhamba eblank, bahamba apha kuba besithi bayojongana nobomi. Basebunzimeni, but abayazi le meko abaya kuyo ngaphambili bazawufika imeko enjani na. Uyahamba ke ngoku uRuth, uhamba nomamazala wakhe. Ilesson yokuqala ke ndiyifumeneyo apha ithi there is hope even in the most devastating times of our lives. uRuth noNaomi, uNaomi uswelekelwe nguyeni, waswelekelana nabantwana. andinawo amabini ke loo mava. Kodwa banawo bazakuxelela into yokokubana bekubuhlungu kakhulu into uswelekelwa sispouse. Athi ke omnye uswelekelwa ngumntana kona it's even worse uthi xa kwipisi yakho engathi imkhiphi. Unawo ke umlomelo uhamba ke ngoku ke nale ntombazana. Xa befika apha kweli lizwe lakhe ke ngoku uyafaniswa. Ndiyabona iinxwaleko bezimlethile. Can you imagine into yokubana xa ndisuka apha eKapa imeko indithile ndibuyele emva ekhaya ukhona into ozawuthi hayi mani ndimbonile ayingowi ndinalo. uNaomi uthi kuloo meko injalo efaniswa into yokubana ayingenaomi nalo. Athi ke yena ke ningaphindi nimbize ngelo gama lithi Naomi. Ithi ke igama elisithi Naomi lithetha ubuhle, wayemhle. Uthi ngoku don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. Ngoba uThixo udilishene nam kakuhle. Ndemka apha ndizele ngoku ndibuya nditheni sendiyemnti. So ithetha ukuthi uyazibona imeko akuyo. Yabona ke ngamanye amaxesha xa uhlafahlala awuziboni. Ubonwa ngabanye abantu into yoba yeyi uba lufahlakile. But yena unawo uye wazibona into yokokubana imeko yakhe imeko engentlanga kakhulu. Ruth laid aside her pain and left their home and family and turned her face to the future with hope. Ruth elandela lo mama Zalande, I'm sure ikhona into awayibonayo kulo mama. Ikhona into ayipholileyo kulo Thixo walo mama. Yamenza into yokokubana athi nca kuye angafuni ukuhlukana naye. What-dedicated kuye, what-devoted kuye, what-determined into yokokubana uza kumnceda lo mama kwimeko akuyo. And I can imagine noba uNaomi besemdala kakhulu because xa sononyana sonomolokazana noko iintsuku zimkile. Esezimkile ke ngoba buyela emva ekhaya. Xa befika atsho bahamba nethemba elithi better days are coming. Masala kwimeko esikuzo singaba nento ethi better days are coming. Kuba kwintlungu ngamanye amaxesha uthi xa ukule ntlungu ithemba liphele. Aphela amathemba kutyhumke uba ngathi deep ufuna nokuzikhuthaza ungakwazi. Kodwa ikhona into ethi better days are coming. Kufuneka wazi into yokokubana nakule meko uThixo ukuyona uThixo ngaphambili uzawuba nawe futhi uzawubonisa nawe ukuthi yazi iinyembezi endazivilayo yazi sendizihleka ngoku yazisola ukubana ndandizililela ntoni na intlungu endandikuyo ngoba uThixo ethe waba nawe wabonelela. Funeke ke sibe nokholo oluphake kwincwadi yamaHebhere chapter 1 verse 1. But ukholo is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Looking in this book of Ruth, we can see that even when we can't see beyond our pain, to his plan, we can have hope that our story isn't over. Better days are coming. Enye into endiyifundileyo kwincwadi kaRuth yinto yokokubana the past is not our final destination when we trust God. uRuth usuka kumama wakhe. Amama wakhe alithaba uSirayeli. Babengaboni ngasono ngoba babokhonza izithixo. Kodwa uRuth ekhamba zijongele phansi. Uye wema wa-confident into yokokubana ndizawuhamba ndihamba nalo mama ndizawufa apho afela khona ndithi vu apho athi vu khona. On top of that, she was a widow, umhlolokazi. And on top of that, childless akanabo nabantwana. So uzibona nje engeyonto. Kodwa uRuth ube ngumakhulu ndingatsho kakumkani uDavide. Ngoba uRuth uthe xa efika phayana kwindlala ebebekuyo bafika ngexesha lokuvuna. waze ke wangena kwintsimi kaBhowazi. Bekuthi ke xa uvuna kufuneka into yokubana ningafunisisi ze nikwazi ishiyele abantu abanjengomni abahlolokazi abazawubuya kwakhona bazobhikitha apha entsimini bazochola-chola kokugqibela. uRuth ke imehlele naloo nto leyo wafika kule ntsimi kaBhowazi. uBhowazi apho wabona inzwakazi xa ibona uRuth, wabona inkosikazi. Kuloo union yabo ke xa bethe emveni babetshatile waze wanonyana. Loo nyana ke ongutatomkhulu kakumkani uDavide, one of the greatest kings zabaSirayeli. uRuth ukhona kwigenealogy kaYesu Kristu ngoba umnombo kaYesu uphuma kwindlu kaDavide. So ibali likaRuth libali ongathi xa ulijongile ubone abantu ekungekho nto, inkethe nje abantu ekungekho nto ibitheni ngabo, kodwa uThixo kuthe kanti kunenjongo ngabo. Sizawuhamba ke ngoku sizawungena evekini, isigqibo sizasithatha. uRuth wathatha isigqibo engasazi uba isigqibo asithathayo sisigqibo endizawuthi mna nawe sizuze kuso kuba kuthe kwaphuma uYesu Kristu. Isigqibo esizazithatha kule veki sizawungena kuyo ingazizigqibo esaziyo into okokubana they are going to cost generations. Noba sisigqibo esithile uyasazi wena isigqibo onaso. Ndikhe nanazo ke mna ke i-youth moments, ndiqinisekile nawe i-youth moments ndikhe nanazo. Ucinge nzima ngee-generations ezilazawulandela ngesi sigqibo ndisithathileyo. The book of Ruth is written to help us see the signposts of grace of God in our lives and to help us trust His grace even when the clouds are so thick that we can't even see the road, let alone the signs on the roadside. Umpapa ngemini esenza umthandazo apha phezulu uthi every dark cloud has a silver lining. Masimcele uThixo asenze sikwazi ukubona i-silver lining. uNaomi abengayiboni kwa-silver lining ngoku kanye sele nalo molokazana uso-devoted kuye, kodwa bekunzima ngenxa yemeko ebezibona ekuyo. Sizawuhamba ke ngoku. I-youth ineterm ethanda uyisebenzisa bathi bayagowa. Ekugoweni kwabo uba bakhona abe-youth apha masikhumbule ntoni into yokokubana uThixo unecebo ngathi. God is our only hope. The book of Psalms chapter 20 verse 7 ithi abantu bathembe iinqwelo zokulwa, thina ke sithembe uYehova. Alikho ithemba esinalo. Masihambe singene evekini sisazi into yokokubana lebe siyishiyile sizawufika ingekatshintshi mhlawumbi meko sinjeyana, kodwa masithenge isandla sikaYehova into yokokubana sizawuhamba kunye nathi. Ngaloo mazwi ndingaba neveki emnandi.
Amen.
Asizawuthi asizucula nethuba, sizacela umdala samkele
Yes, Father, we stand here. Precious and gracious Father who art in heaven, siyabonga ke Msindisi wobuntu esabathela kwiphakame kangaka. Siyabonga ke ngezifundo esizifumana namhlanje. Especially Lord, today, in fact, this moment we're being reminded that every decision we make, it will have this fine print even in eternity. The first thing we'll do when we get home is to make decisions. May we make decisions that will incline us to be better Christians tomorrow. And the planners of this day at large, may be with them for will be fulfilled even as men. They thought they were planning for women only, but as men, it's not able to as we were when we came in this morning. As we're about to depart, May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now until the class comes. Amen. See you go to the most. Just one reminder for you, I'm also hiking at 7 o'clock in 2 minutes.